I've been doing a lot of thinking on how Jujutsu Kaisen will end and how Sukuna will die. And I think for me, when you add up all the theories together and to what we have seen so far from the story, and especially from our main protagonist Itadori Yuji, the story is destined to end in a dark tone. Yuji has had a death sentence ever since the start of the story. So I'm sorry Yuji fans, but I think Akutami is planning to kill him off at the end of the story. I mean, come on guys, are you all surprised to hear that? Especially after the way you have been seeing how Akutami treats Yuji throughout the story, constantly being laughed at by Sukuna and beaten by him. Yuji always loses while Sukuna always wins. That's what I've been observing when looking at this story. Now in terms of power level, we can all agree that Sukuna now is at the peak of Jujutsu strength amongst both the cursed spirits and the Jujutsu sorcerers. Even Kenjaku cannot compete against Sukuna. And to be fair, I don't think Kenjaku could even take down Gojo, where Sukuna jumped at the chance to battle Gojo when he returned in chapter 221. So by the logic of Sukuna being the strongest villain and him being the biggest emotional challenge for our main protagonist Yuji, let's just say for our argument for this video that Kenjaku is defeated. All the other Jujutsu sorcerers that are still alive ganged up on Kenjaku and killed him, which means now there's only one left: Sukuna. Sukuna is now the final boss of the series. How will they beat the strongest sorcerer ever? And how will they beat the king of all curses? I don't think they can. Think about it guys. Gojo was going all out against Sukuna. He used Hollow Purple as a detonator to try and kill Sukuna, and he still tanked that attack. Sukuna's slice attack managed to slice time and space in order to go through Gojo's infinity and finish off Gojo. How do you beat a guy that can basically slice reality itself? Even if everyone gangs up on him, I still think he's too strong. Akutami has now done the reverse on what he did with Gojo back in the Shibuya incident arc. It was the villains who were too weak to take on Gojo in a fight, so they had to come up with a strategy to defeat him without actually fighting him, which is why they came up with the plan to use the Prism Realm to seal Gojo away forever, and their plan worked. Now the remaining Jujutsu sorcerers left, who are now too weak against Sukuna, will now have to come up with a plan on defeating Sukuna without the need of defeating him in a full-on fight. And I think the answer is pretty obvious on how they will do it. The key to defeating Sukuna is Yuji. How, you may ask? Well, the rumor going around for us fans is that Yuji has the ability to soul swap ever since chapter 222. When we saw Yuji and Kusakabe training, and it seemed like to us that Yuji used his rumored soul swapping technique in that training scene. Now let's go with the argument that this technique is confirmed and Yuji can use it. What if he uses this technique against Sukuna while Sukuna is still currently using Megami's body? Yuji, before the Culling Games arc started and ever since the Shibuya incident arc, has always felt guilty for the damage Sukuna causes, and as a result, he feels he is the reason why Megami's life is in danger, because Sukuna has plans for Megami. He mentions this in both chapters 138 and 143, and even in chapter 212, because he felt Angel will have the ability to get rid of Sukuna and will end the Culling Games. Yuji was thinking that finally himself and Sukuna will die, leaving Megami to be safe and to live his life in peace. But as we all know, that chapter ended very differently to how Yuji wished to end. But you can see the point I'm trying to get to. Yuji has always felt he has responsibility for Megami. He feels he is the reason why Megami is in danger, so you can see Yuji doing something extreme to save Megami from the clutches of Sukuna. He was Sukuna's vessel. When he was Sukuna's vessel, Sukuna wasn't able to do as he wished. He was basically trapped in Yuji's body. But now that he is inside of Megami's body, he can do as he pleases. This is the ultimate nightmare scenario for Yuji, and us fans already know Yuji has a major savior-hero complex. He wouldn't mind dying if it means he's saving everyone. Look at the Culling Games. When he was fighting Higuruma, he admitted to the charges that Sukuna was guilty of in killing all the innocent people in Shibuya. He admitted to those charges when he had nothing to do with that incident. Yuji is the type of guy to sacrifice himself to save others. Eating Sukuna's fingers in the first place, that in itself was a reckless move, but he did it anyway because he wanted to save his friends and prevent the school being destroyed by the cursed spirit. So I think from what we know of Yuji's character, you can see him using Soul Swap against Sukuna and take back Sukuna into his own body, freeing up Megami from Sukuna. And as we have seen in the story, from when Sukuna was inside of Yuji's body, Sukuna cannot get full control of Yuji's body whenever he likes. Yuji somehow manages to fight off control from Sukuna, which is one of the reasons why Sukuna was looking for another vessel in the first place. But yes, Sukuna will be inside of Yuji's body and will allow himself to be sacrificed to get rid of Sukuna once and for all. This was Yuji's destiny from the very beginning. He can now be the hero he always wanted to be by being the guy that sacrificed himself in defeating Sukuna in his strongest ever form. Sukuna just defeated Gojo not too long ago and has admitted now he doesn't even need the final finger to be at his strongest, as now he feels he is at his strongest now, when he mentioned in chapter 222 that he can compensate for the last finger. And even now we have seen the return of Heian era Sukuna, so this has to be Sukuna at his peak. He learned how to essentially cut reality by observing Mahoraga, which gave him another deadly attack to use. He is able to use the 10 shadows, he's in his original Heian era form, and has now consumed 19 fingers, leaving only one where Gojo has stored away. So if you kill Sukuna now, that means there's only one finger left to destroy, and then you wipe out Sukuna forever, not allowing him to return. Yuji, by sacrificing himself to defeat Sukuna, will make him a legend, and also in a way makes Sukuna a bigger legend because no one could defeat him. Even the strongest from the Gojo clan, Satoru Gojo, wasn't able to defeat Sukuna. No one could defeat him. The only way to defeat him is by using a soul swap sacrifice, and if Akutami does end up doing that, then Sukuna is protected from losing in a fight. So Yuji dies as a hero with the whole world watching, fulfilling his own goal of not dying alone and dying with a purpose. And Sukuna dies with confirmation of him being the strongest sorcerer in history. A sorcerer so strong, no matter what era he is in, he never loses a fight. Megami is also saved and can now live a normal life, which is another motivation for Yuji, as we have seen numerous times that he felt he was responsible for the danger that will come upon him because of Sukuna. Now, this may not be the most exciting way to end the story, but narratively it makes sense, as the story itself centers around the feud between Yuji and Sukuna, and throughout the story, Sukuna has screwed over Yuji so many times. If Yuji does end up doing the soul swap to weaken Sukuna in his own body, that in itself will allow Yuji to have the final laugh against Sukuna. So in that way, it makes sense for Yuji's story arc. This ending is the perfect way to end his story, in my opinion. But let me go over to you guys now. What do you think of this theory? And how do you think the story of Jujutsu Kaisen will end? Do you guys think we'll have a dark ending or a bittersweet ending like in this theory? Or will we have a happy ending? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.